All right, we asked 3 diehard hunters what they think about cell cameras and if they think they're ethical. We asked Tony Peterson, Clint Campbell, and Steve Sherk. Hear what their thoughts are on this topic. We want to hear what you guys think about cell cameras. Leave a comment below if you guys enjoy the conversation. Hit the like button, subscribe. Here we go.
Cell cameras, are they ethical? Should they be illegal? Should there be parameters around the time frame you can use them? Like, what are your thoughts?
This is going to be such a weasel word answer.
Oh, come on, Tony.
I think I love them. I have a weird relationship with trail cameras because I don't ever kill deer because I use them, but I love them. Like I never feel like I got this buck dialed and he's going to die because I get pictures of him, but I sure feel like it feeds my decision-making process. The thing I worry about with cell cameras is they don't make things that much easier. They sure are fun and addictive, but I worry about what they look like to the non-hunting public. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't catch me sitting here saying like, I want to ban all baiting because like, I don't really care what you're doing, right? Like if it's legal, I personally don't really care. What I worry about is like, how does this look to the people who might be deciding our fate? And some of these issues just get a little wonky with me because I'm like, if they start to be like used in that argument against us, like these guys they're not hunting, like they're just using technology and it's unfair. When it starts to get painted in that way, if it becomes a part of that conversation, that's when I get worried. So then, but I wouldn't say like a full on ban. I would say, okay, like maybe outside of the season, right? Or maybe, not within 48 hours of when you're going to hunt or something. I don't know. I would hate to just like wave a magic wand and get rid of them. I hope there's enough foresight there on these states when this happens, because I think it's going to happen too, where they'll say something like, any wireless communication within the last 72 hours or something like that. So then you guys could go, all right, we'll sell you guys a model that doesn't send
Exactly
you for 4 days. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, are you going to argue against that? Like what good does it do me knowing he was here 4 days ago or something? So I hope it just doesn't go, because we tend to like overcorrect a lot of times. And I hope it doesn't go to that because they are so fun and everybody's using them. And I don't want to see that go away. So I hope that when those conversations become real, like they're getting there. But I hope when it's like, our nuts are on the line, like I hope they go, okay, let's find a compromise that works. So this isn't like just wipe this category out.
I don't think they're unethical at all. This is my point is, unless you're like on some farm, which this is totally not me, and you're just sitting in your camp and you got 20 cell cameras on your property and you're just waiting, then you get a picture and then you've got like a ATV or something and you can just fly right after the animal. I mean, how often does that scenario, how can that even occur? Where I'm at especially, like not only do I might have a hour drive, I might have a 1 to 3 hour walk to that spot. I'm not using that cell camera to try and take advantage and kill that animal immediately. What I like most about cell cameras, just for me, is I like to be able to stay out of areas. And being able to monitor an area without those animals ever knowing my presence, I just feel like that is the best, reason for a cell camera. But also, I look at people like, that hunt multiple states there's this, I'm blessed more than others. There's hunters that if it wasn't for their cell camera sending them pictures, they probably wouldn't be encouraged to go somewhere. Like they don't have the time like me, or that it's able to be in such an encouraging tool to keep people, positive mindsets wanting to go hunting. Like why should we be taking away things in a somewhat dying industry where, if you were to measure up throughout the whole country, hunting is a dying sport. Why should we be taking away from hunters when this is something that's helping give hunters more positive attitude and really building up the hunting industry itself?
I think like anything else, trail cameras, trail cameras are a tool. I don't think, at least I don't view them and I don't use them in a way that would give me any type of, unfair advantage that I wouldn't get from just a regular trail camera. I'm usually putting them in places where they're just really, really hard to get to. And I don't want to make a bunch of human intrusion into a specific area countless times to check to see what the inventory is on a scrape. And that's typically where I'll use them. Me personally, the way I use them, I don't get something in bonus to real-time data that I can really actually action on to make it really, I guess unfair that some people think of, in their eyes. With that, I think anytime there's technological advancements in any category in the hands of the wrong person, it certainly can be used in the wrong way. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that goes with anything. I mean, you can say, if I were going to go down that rabbit hole, you could also kind of throw into the mix cell phones. How many times are you sitting in a tree that your buddy might be 200 yards away from you and he's sitting at at one point and you're in a funnel 200 yards away from him that deer is on a trajectory toward, and text like, hey man, just saw a good one, might be headed your way. Technically, I don't know the bylaws back and forth in Pennsylvania, from the game commission book, but I'm pretty sure like you're not allowed to do that, technically speaking. And I would say guys that hunt together, to the tune of probably 90+% of them, if they're hunting with a buddy within close proximity, they're going to text their buddy and tell them that there's a shooter buck on the way. He's just out of range for me. It looks like he's heading your way. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So like whenever I think about those terms, it's like, well, what are we going to do? We're going to start banning cell phones. I'm sure map app companies are going to have to have something to say about that. Is a map app, on your phone, is that an unfair advantage? You know what I mean? Because, I'm now able to kind of see the terrain in real time, and I don't have to rely on a map. I can pull up waypoints. I can check the weather in real time. Like, so I think that, at least in my opinion, I think people need to kind of get over themselves a little bit in terms of like how we're using technology, and just recognize there are going to be some people that misuse it. And we need to hold those people accountable, when they do misuse it. But it's just like anything else. Like, I don't really want the government overreach telling me how I can hunt and how I can't hunt just because we have a few bad apples per se. Because at that point, then it's like, I just think it's a really slippery slope. It's like, what else are you going to remove? It's like, you can make the argument for cell phones. You can make the argument for, well, should crossbows be used during archery season or not? Right. So that's another conversation you can start to have around technology. I think where it stands right now, how people are using them and where the tech is, I don't have a problem with it. I certainly see if someone is watching a deer and they've got a feeder going off or something like that, and they're going to time it, and they know that the deer is going to show up, and they see that deer at one spot and they're going to cut him off at another spot. Yeah. I would ask the question of how many people legitimately are doing that? How many people can legitimately do that? That have the time to do that? Maybe it would shock me. Maybe it's more people than I think. But I would guess probably not. Just because it's a cell camera doesn't mean you're getting it at the moment that that it's happening. Most of the time I have mine set on just giving me a 24-hour upload. Right. A couple of reasons. I don't want to pay the data charge for it to ping me every time I have a picture. You know what I mean? Like, I really just want to batch load so I know what happened yesterday. And I would say if they did anything, and I use Exodus cell cameras, so I don't know what other cell camera, trail camera companies are doing from a cell perspective and what their uploads, timeframes look like and stuff like that. But if they just even regulated it to where you could only have nothing more than a 24-hour increment of upload, like that, to me, I think would be sufficient, because technically I could go check that trail camera every day if I wanted to at the same time and get the same information. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great point. If you're going to legislate anything, you legislate the time frame for the uploads, and it probably solves a lot of those problems.
And I think that's the big value proposition to cellular cameras to begin with. It's not, getting real-time transmission or real-time data on a specific deer to go cut them off. It's not having to spend the time to go check your cameras, to be less intrusive on your property. I mean, that's the big value prop. Go set these things up, forget about them, let them do their business. You get the information into your phone.
The huge value prop for me, and like, as hunters, we're usually pretty family oriented, is like the amount of time it keeps me from having to spend time in the woods checking cameras and able to be home, doing stuff with my family. Like, that's a huge thing, because I get all my cameras out, we're sitting here, mid-ish April. Most of my stuff is out already, for the most part. And regular cameras I probably won't check till sometime in June, and then one last time in September before the season kicks off will probably be the 2 times I check. But I have a lot of spots that are cell camera specific, and they're hung, and I won't go back to those until I get ready to hunt them. You know what I mean? And that's just a ton of time that I typically would have to spend with boots on the ground checking those cameras that I actually get to spend with my wife and my daughter doing whatever it is that I want to do, because I'm going to be gone for most of September through November.